All right, so Brandon Cronenberg, the son of David Cronenberg, has a new film out that some of you may or may not have seen the trailer for, or at least have heard the title. It is 2023's Infinity Pool. It stars Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth, two actors that are very much on the rise right now, so they are people that you should keep an eye out for future projects. So the most I'll tell you about the plot is that essentially you have a husband and wife, James and M, played by Alexander Skarsgård and Cleopatra Coleman. They head to this island called La Tolca, and it's a fictional island made up for this movie, so don't go searching this on any Google Maps or anything like that because you will not find it. But yeah, they head to this island for an all-inclusive resort vacation, which sounds nice enough. Alexander Skarsgård's character, James, he is a writer working on his next book, looking for inspiration. That's why they're on the vacation, also just to get away as well. They're kind of on the rocks with their relationship, but that's not as much of the focus as what happens next. They meet people, Mia Goth, who plays Gabby, and Thomas Kretschmann, who plays Thresh. I'm probably not saying that last name right, I apologize. But they meet them, they say, hey, let's go outside the resort, go for a drive, and lo and behold, Alexander Skarsgård's character, hits somebody with the car while he's driving and kills them, and that's punishable by death on that island in that country where they're at. And instead of getting the death sentence, there is an alternative, which is where I will stop my plot synopsis because from that point forward, I would be giving away too much. The one thing I will say about, any of the plot going forward is that this movie is a science fiction psychological thriller. All of those different subgenres right there. Right off the bat, I will say that my favorite part of this movie is the science fiction elements of it. I thought that it was a very interesting aspect of the film that wasn't quite utilized as much as I would hope, but they did utilize it a decent amount, and I liked what they did with it. Another positive is, of course, the two main leads here, Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth. Some of you might know Alexander Skarsgård from 2022's The Northman. That was last year, right? Pretty sure. And I'm pretty sure that was him starring in that role. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of that movie, but he was still fantastic in that film. Like I said in the beginning, definitely one of those actors on the rise that you need to keep an eye out for. And then, of course, Mia Goth, who starred in two films last year, X and Pearl, which are both films that are connected. She is fantastic in those. Pearl, I prefer over X, but still very great in both of those films. And they're both very great in this film, as individuals and also alongside each other. Then, of course, the visuals. The visuals in this film are fantastic. I love the use of color. I love the cinematography. They have a lot of really interesting shots in this film that I appreciated so much just from a filmmaking standpoint. But going past all of those positives that I just said is when I got to get into the negatives. When it comes to the negatives, does it outweigh the positives? Yes, unfortunately, in this case, it does. Maybe I went in with higher expectations than I should have had. But from that trailer alone, I was very curious about the film just to see where it would go. And where it ended up going, I didn't necessarily hate, but I also didn't love. I wouldn't even necessarily say I liked it. I would say I was indifferent on it. Of course, I'm not going to tell you how it all comes together, but again, the way that it all comes together doesn't come together as neatly, as compact as I would have liked it. It felt a little bit all over the place. And honestly, a film like this kind of had to feel all over the place because, again, it's an acid trip of a movie. Just because you're trying to take the audience on an acid trip doesn't mean that you can't put in good writing. And when it comes to this film, does it have bad writing? Not necessarily, but at the same time, it doesn't have the most organic writing. I know this film has very fantastical elements and it has those science fiction elements. And, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. But at the same time, you have to have natural feeling dialogue, have to have natural character motives, and this film seems to kind of lack that. It seems to lack awareness of its surroundings and how normal people would react to the situation. And especially when it comes to your lead, I feel like it has to have the most depth with it, and at times, to no fault of Alexander Skarsgård's acting, it felt a little one note. You never really had any redemption for his character that really made you feel for him. Yeah, there's really no redeeming character in this movie, which is unfortunate. Not to say that every movie has to have a redeeming character, But in a film like this, amongst so many crazy people, there has to be one outlier in there. And I feel like you don't really get that standout. That was kind of supposed to be Cleopatra Coleman's character, but she doesn't necessarily stick around for a majority of the film. I know, a little bit of a spoiler there, I know. But I had to say that for the sake of this review. She's not around for that long. She seems to be the only one with their head screwed on right, whereas everybody else just seems to be going crazy, which is an interesting idea for the film. It adds to the psychological element of it, but at the same time, for character development's sake, you kind of have to have some redeeming moments for the main character. I don't know, maybe I'm rambling, maybe my complaints aren't the same complaints that people are going to have with this movie. Maybe people are going to love it. And maybe, who knows, I'll rewatch this movie in a few months or so, or by the end of the year, and I will love it by then. But I don't really see that happening, and to be completely honest, I don't really see myself rewatching this anytime soon, if at all. And one final thing I'll say here is that instead of being rated R, this movie maybe should have been NC-17, because for those of you who don't know, NC-17 movies are usually for movies that have spicy content, to say the least, and this movie has a 5+ minute spicy scene. Yeah, maybe a little bit too long for a movie. I'm not saying too long for real life, okay? Don't start signing off on me in the comments, but for a movie, it's a little excessive. It's kind of an acid trip of a spicy scene, so it's artistic, but still, it goes on way too long. It doesn't really add that much to the film, along with a lot of the other scenes where it's just really drawn out, where you don't have characters talking for maybe a solid 25 to 30 seconds. For a film that's just under 2 hours long, I feel like it shouldn't need that much trimming, but this film definitely does. So, yeah, final note there. Just wanted to add that in. And also, one final side note, if you do suffer from epilepsy, do not go watch this movie in the theater. Right before the studio logos come on, they give you a warning, so don't watch it in the theater, don't watch it at home if you do suffer from epilepsy, just for your safety. Forgive me for not checking, but I'm not sure if this is going to hit a streaming service anytime soon. I would imagine maybe HBO Max would be the one that this would go to, but who knows. But if it does come to a streaming service anytime soon, I would recommend checking it out if you already have that streaming service. Wouldn't recommend buying a subscription to a streaming service just to watch this one. In fact, I would say, as for it being at the movie theater, I would give it a discounted ticket. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed by this film. I was expecting more from those trailers. Those trailers looked really interesting to me, or I guess I should say trailer, because I only saw one trailer for the film. But it did have me hooked just from the idea of it alone, the little concepts of the plot that it was giving off. But when it came to the film itself, it was kind of a swing and a miss for me. So, have you seen 2023's Infinity Pool? What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? I guess I would say I'm more in the middle, leaning more towards not liking it. But I would love to know your opinion down in the comments below. Have you not seen it? Are you planning on watching it in the theater or waiting for it to come on streaming? Or are you just not going to watch it at all? I would also love to know that down in the comment below. In the comments below. But yeah, leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I will see you in the next one.